time for another stock review. This time we're talking about Boeing. And in this review, I'm going to show you the balance sheet, the profit, the loss. I'm going to provide you with a solvency score, a profitability score. Look at the website. We're also going to take a look at the latest news around Boeing. Also, we're going to look at the dividend history. Is it a dividend king? And also back test it as well against the S&P 500. So during this review, you're going to see all the numbers that you need to make an informed decision, whether it's right for you to buy the stock, sell the stock, or hold the stock. Remember, I'm not sponsored by anyone to present these reviews. It's a service I provide to my members. And if you want a review like this, just comment to any of my videos. It's a members only perk. And I will see that you've asked for a review and I'll add it to the list. I'm going for all these reviews now to get them all done. If you wanted to get it done straight away, do a super chat. It bumps it to the top and I will do it straight away for you. And I will do it in the priority of the amount that you super chat. Whoever bids the most will be done straight away. But you don't have to do that. You can just give me a comment and I'll add it to the list. We're also going to show you the short interest, inside trading, the whole thing. Okay, and I'll also give you the link for the services and the software that I use, which I believe is the most advanced algorithmic software. You can check that out yourself. It's free. My members get a premium plan discount as well if you want that. So let's get straight to it. Smash the like button if you like these reviews and if you want them to be seen by more people. If you don't like my reviews or any of this service on my channel, click the down like button and then you won't see me anymore. Consider subscribing to the channel as well. It really will help me out and hopefully provide you the content that you are looking for. Right, let's get straight into Boeing this morning. Is Boeing a good buy? Straight off the bat, I don't own any of these shares. I'm completely impartial. I only own the S&P 500, so you know the information is real and genuine and not biased in any way. Even though I do rank for many of the stocks on YouTube and Google, I'm not here to influence a stock in any way whatsoever, just provide you with the best information. I don't like investing in airlines, I have to say. It's not really for me. There's too much that can go wrong with an airline like this. Too much competition, too many variables. It's not really for me. But anyway, that's just my personal view. That's not necessarily the right thing for you. Let's go into it. There's more to Boeing than you probably first imagine. Anyway, Boeing Company is an aerospace company which engages in the manufacture of commercial jet airliners. They also have a lot to do with space. I don't know if you're aware how much, in fact, they have to do with space, but we'll cover that further in the video. Anyway, also security systems as well. It operates through the following segments: commercial airplanes, BCA, defense, space and security, BDS, global services, BGS, and Boeing Capital. All right, okay. Now then, it's the CEO is David Calhoun. Now, if anyone from Boeing or anyone invests in Boeing would like me to interview the CEO, please do reach out to them. It's much better coming from the investors yourselves. Send them an email, the investor relations website, and ask them to look at my review. And if they'd like to come on my show, I do Meet the CEO series where I discuss my review and talk about the business directly with the CEOs of the company. So if you'd like to do that on my behalf, please feel free, and I look forward to hearing from them soon. Okay, 171,000 employees, and it's headquartered in Arlington, Virginia. It's been around since 1916. Can you believe it? Using maintenance margin, if you were buying this with margin, it's a 25% requirement on it, which means it's regarded as low risk from this brokerage. It goes up to 100% for the highest risk. Okay. Now there's $127 billion market cap. That doesn't mean the company's worth $127 billion. It means that people are prepared to pay that on today's share prices. Price earnings ratio, negative 57.12. Okay, we'll come on to the actual intrinsic value later on in the show. Very, very important. Dividend yield not being shown here, but we do have a dividend for this. So again, you have to look across the board at all information. Sometimes there are errors in certain places. You have to have a bit of experience and do a bit more digging, and it does happen. Anyway, The average volume here is 12.72 million, and the volume today is 117 million. That's fine. It's early in the morning, so there's a reasonable about a volume here. It's not a stock that's traded heavily, but it's got 12 million. It's a reasonable stock, which means if you're trying to sell the stock, you're more than likely will be able to get out at the price you want. A low volume stock, you can be stuck in and not able to get out of the stock. That can happen. All right, we've got a low, a 52-week low of 176.25 and a 52-week high of 267.54. Now, we've got a lot of news on Boeing, which we'll talk about later in the review. Looking at Morningstar, their review. Now, I don't take any notice of this because these are paid analysts. I'm reviewing it for you for free, and I'm not influenced in any way whatsoever. Analysts very often are paid, just like marketing companies, JD Power, to promote a stock, or they have investments in it or an incentive, whatever. But we'll come on to a much better way of reviewing the stock later in the video. This is Morningstar, and they're saying it's a strong buy at 74%. No one's really selling, and a hold at 22%. What the bulls are saying, we expect the commercial airframe manufacturing will remain a duopoly for most of the world for the foreseeable future. We think customers will not have any meaningful options. Okay, the bears say, as recent history has proved, aircraft development is notoriously susceptible to development delays, hiccups, and cost overruns. That's one of the reasons why I don't like airlines. There are so many variables that change your investment structure overnight. Now we've got issues, of course, with Boeing and safety, so everything's now changing direction once again. Now you can see that in the earnings, because if we look at the earnings here, you'll see that it sort of goes along a medium line straight through. You know, it's up 1 minute, down, up, straight, down, up. It's kind of always along the same plane. Is it really growing? Well, of course, you might not be buying this for the growth. You might be buying it for the dividend. And if it's down because of certain news events, then maybe it's time to buy it. But again, we'll cover all the dividend payments later on. How often do they pay? Because if they don't pay often, or they don't increase often, what's the point? Anyway, estimated on the most recent earnings, they were estimated to make 72 cents a share and actually returned a negative of 47 cents a share. So they were expecting to lose money, and they were actually losing slightly less, which is good news. Expected to lose 72 cents a share, and they actually lost 47 cents a share. So on the most recent earnings, it was a slight beat, which is good news for Boeing, right? Okay, now then, who are we in bed with? In other words, who are we buying shares with? That's important because it will give you the direction of the stock, the volatility of the stock, depending on who's buying the stock. Will give you an idea how it will trade. So what doesn't surprise you to see that we've got Delta Airlines, United Airlines here, American Airlines, even got Carnival popped up here. Disney makes sense because it's old money, and the people that have been buying airlines for years and years are the same people that buy Disney, and perhaps for dividends as well. Carnival's thrown in there with the Royal Caribbean group. That's interesting. But with Carnival, I don't think it's a good investment at all. I've done a review on Carnival. You might want to go and check that review out. I'll give you the links for all that later on. Okay, let's get now straight into, and oh, by the way, don't forget, so far, tap the like. It really helps the channel, and you'll be notified of my content. If you don't like the content, please click down like. That way you won't see it anymore, and you'll find the information that you want. Anyway, let's go over now and let's have a look at some news around Boeing and also the website as well. Now, as I said to you before, we all know about their aeroplanes, the Boeing 747 and 737 and all these things, but also Boeing is heavily invested in space as well, the International Space Station. I'll just give you some latest news here of something that's recently occurred. So let me just read this out to you now. The International Space Station is permanently crewed on orbit laboratory that enables scientific research supporting innovation on Earth and future deep space exploration. From design to launch, 15 countries collaborated to assemble the world's only permanent crewed orbital facility, which can support up to 7 astronauts and 300 to 400 experiments per crew increment across an array of is that disciplines? It is, yes. It's very small text on this, but I'm trying to read it and look at the right. I could look over here and it's much bigger, but it wouldn't be so good for you, right? The ISS is the cornerstone of human activity in low Earth orbit, a cooperative global effort to expand our knowledge and improve life on Earth while testing technology that will build an LEO economy and extend our reach to the moon, Mars, and beyond. Boeing officially turned over the US on-orbit segment of the ISS to NASA in 2010 and continues to provide key engineering support services and continual capability enhancements, as well as processing for laboratory experiment racks. Now, it's worth thinking about here, because when you think about things like SpaceX, you'd like to be involved in SpaceX and you can't. Of course, it does have investment, but it's privately invested. It's not a publicly traded company. This is the way you can access space. Maybe through Boeing. You wouldn't necessarily think about it, but actually you can invest in space by, investing through Boeing. It's worth thinking about, right? Satellites they do, and many other things as well. But recently, of course, we got some bad news on Boeing. We've got bolts coming off and all the rest of it. Let's have a look. Boeing warns of more delays after newly flagged issues on 737 fuselages, and of course the stocks fall. This is very recent information, only out today. Let's scroll down here. Get some more headlines. Boeing shares were under pressure on Monday after the troubled aerospace firm said it plans to spend several days fixing misdrilled holes on 50 undelivered 737 planes. In a memo sent out to employees on Sunday, Boeing Commercial Airplanes CEO Stan Deal said the company plans to dedicate several days at its 737 factory in Renton, Washington, to carrying out inspections and reworking fuselages supplied to it by Spirit Aerosystems. Shares in Boeing fell more than 2% in pre-market trading on Monday. The stock has lost nearly 20% so far in 2024. Again, this is what I'm talking about. When you are dealing with an airline, any news or anything dramatic that happens, of course, but then that's just like any stock, I guess. But it tends to happen a lot for the airlines. Boeing finds more 737 fuselage problems. The Dow giant is falling. This is another report here, and this is from Ed Carson. Boeing BA is reworking misdrilled holes. We've just discovered that. But there you go. More bad news on Boeing. Anyway, without further ado, let's get straight now into the numbers, what it's really about. We understand what the business is, but how do we make money as investors? So let's go straight now into our deep numbers. Okay, here we go. Again, tap the like button if you like this video. I really do appreciate it. Okay, right. So the intrinsic value, but you have to remember the intrinsic value may come with warnings, undervalue or overvalue traps. I'm glad to say there is no warning here. So it is fairly valued at the moment. That's the way it is. Not undervalued, not overvalued, but fairly valued. I have to say, of all the reviews I've done, this is the first time I've actually seen one which actually says fairly valued. That's the first time. And I've done about 70 reviews now at the making of this video. Anyway, base case scenario, it's fairly valued. Best case, 30% undervalued. At worst case, 23% overvalued. Now, for a high growth stock, which of course this isn't anymore, unless for some reason it brings out some revolutionary plane or whatever, takes over the world, I'm prepared to spend 25% overvaluation. Things like Tesla or anything to do with space. We've already discussed that, but has it got any potential that could explode the stock going forward? I don't know. But on the base case scenario, it is fairly valued. Okay, let's scroll down. No warnings here. So it's a fair valuation. Now, let's look at the fundamentals. The revenue of this company starting to grow now, and we're expecting to see it improve going forward. Not what we'd call an S-curve, but a nice steady growth nevertheless. So up 3% on the most recent range. Things are looking good. Okay. All right. Operating income up 44% on the most recent range. And we are expecting to see this rise going forward. Net income up 22%. So mainly, we could be looking at the bad news with all these bolts and all the rest of it. Could be an opportunity now to buy a company that looks or is expected to do well in the near future, and you can buy at a discount. So that's pretty interesting. Free cash flow, it's down on its most recent range, 4%. Capital expenditure, we're spending more money. It's increased by 7%. And our operating cash flow is down 1% on the most recent range. Okay, let's look at the balance sheet. Now, we've done a poll on our channel, and we found out 80% of people never read the balance sheet. They just use the intrinsic value of a brokerage. You should always read the balance sheet. We've got here 137 billion. The good news is 16 billion is in cash. So it's not just assets of physical assets. We've actually got cash, which is great. We look at the liabilities, though. However, this is where we're in trouble. 154 billion. We've got more liabilities than assets. That's not good at all. So if we go over here and we look at the long-term debt, 47 billion is in long-term debt, which makes up 30% of the liabilities. Now, that can provide a catalyst if we do see interest rates coming down, of course. Interest rates are high at the moment, all-time highs for many, many years. That could be a catalyst, and we are expecting that. So another benefit there, having so much debt on a company which has potential growth with rates coming down, there's an opportunity there. But I don't like seeing a company with more liabilities than assets. That really isn't a good place. That's not going to put their solvency score in a good place, is it? Anyway, moving on down to the gross margins. Now, 10%. Now, we don't know how good or bad that is. What we need to do is compare it to other airlines. Now, later in this review, I'm going to give you links so you can actually go and look at other airlines and compare it and decide, whether it's a good margin or not. Other companies will have margin, and you can see if they have a greater margin, which is their moat, and their balance sheet might be better as well. So you maybe want to invest in a different airline or not at all. Operating margin, negative. Net margin, negative. FCF margin, 6%. ROCE is negative 2%. ROIC, negative 1%. ROA, negative 2%, and ROE, 13%. All right, here we go. So the profitability of the score of the company is 42%, 42 out of 100. So it's quite good. It's not bright green. It's not an Apple or an Amazon, but it's not red. Exceptional 3-year ROE. ROIC is increasing. And we've got positive revenue growth, which is okay, and positive 3-year revenue growth, which is okay. Not great, but okay. So we've got some profit, but let's look at our solvency. Now, for a company that's been around for such a long period of time, obviously it's got it's got that history. We wouldn't like to be, we don't really want to be seeing a company that's been around such a long time with a low solvency score. Now, to be absolutely clear, it's not going bust anytime soon at all, because we're not in the bright red. We've got a lot further to drop, and companies that are a lot lower and have no real issue at all going forward. But 38% isn't great. I think we'd want to compare this to other airlines and see if there was a better option. I don't like a company that's been around for such a long time with 38% solvency. We don't want to see that. It's low, but it's not disastrous. But by now, really, we should be in the green. We should have managed our money better than this. And of course, if we'd not had perhaps the recent failures, we wouldn't be spending the money so much. There wouldn't be so many penalties, and maybe our solvency would be better. But anyway, I don't like that. Okay, let's go and look at Wall Street analysis. So far, it's not a buy for me. I wouldn't buy it anyway because it's an airline, and I certainly wouldn't be buying this one. If we look at the Wall Street's analysis, they're saying a 31% upswing on the stock on average. Highest is 65%, and an 8% is the worst case scenario. So, they're giving it an okay signal here. But you can earn 15% or 12.5% on the S&P without the risk and drama. I don't know. Again, it's not for me looking at that. Now then, the competitive landscape. I said to you, if you wait till the end or near the end, I will give you links. In a moment, I'm going to give you links where you can go to this software that I'm using and look at the competition, see their balance sheets, see their margins, and you can make an informed decision whether, Boeing is right for you. Right, let's look at ownership. Who's buying on the inside? Insider transactions. Well, we can see during the last 12 months, Boeing insiders have bought $201,000 worth of stock, but they've sold $2.1 million. The last transaction was made August the 1st, 2023, by EVP President and CEO and BDS, who sold $2 million worth of Boeing shares, as you can see there. Now, there's been nothing since then, so we've not had any buying and selling since then. But obviously, it's never good to see insiders selling such large amounts. Now, it's not huge. It's not going to change the direction of the stock. It could be just personal reasons or tax reasons or whatever, but it's a reasonable amount, not excessive, but it's a reasonable amount. Just worth noting that insiders are selling, or at least one has here of note anyway. Right, let's move on down and see, do we have any real negative sentiment with the short interest? Well, 1.52. I have to say that's pretty good, but remember, this is only updated monthly, so due to all the bolts and everything else going on, we might have more shorts than it's showing here. But 1.52 is some short interest. But even Apple is only like 0.7. So it's not really a lot. Until we get over 20 and becomes excessive, it's nothing. It's not going to be a short squeeze or anything like that. We need at least 20% to even start considering a short squeeze. Anyway, these are some latest news items around the stock. We'll have a quick listen in here and see what this says here about Boeing. In a few days, you'll see my review here. All my reviews make it onto Alpha Spread. They cherry pick CNBC and Fox and so on. They pick a few, but with me, they include all of them. They like my reviews because they are open and honest, and they like the quality of it. But let's have a quick listen in at this review here. Let's have a listen.
Or at least maintain altitude in 2024, but issues with the 737 MAX have set the company back again. Investors are wondering how much farther the stock will fall. Barron's senior writer Al Root joins the panel. Al, you got a very interesting story this week on Boeing. Mm-hmm. So you've been watching this company for a while. It is a mess. Mm-hmm. One of the theories I hear is that it's run by financial guys when really engineering guys focused on making planes should be in charge.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
And it's a mess, I agree with that. But how do we get here, right? So if you look at the period where the MAX jet was grounded worldwide after 2 deadly crashes, it was being run by Dennis Muhlenberg, who's actually an honorary fellow in the American Institute of Aeronautical and Astronomical Engineering.
Okay.
Right, so he was an engineer that didn't oversee. So I think you need good managers as well as good engineers, but you really need people making capital allocation decisions. If you compare over the last decade the amount of money that Airbus spends on R&D, plants and equipment compared to Boeing, Airbus spends more. It almost is just that simple. They put more money into the product, and those decisions of the past decade are coming home to roost.
So with bad decisions being made, how long does Dave Calhoun stay in the corner office? Is it time for a new CEO?
So Dave is in a tough spot. And, I don't necessarily want to make big splashy calls, he needs to go. In 2019, he was brought in to replace that engineer to get the MAX flying again. And he did that. So check mark for Dave. But, they've had tens of billions of debt, tremendous stress through the pandemic. He still has not invested in product, right? There is no new medium-sized aircraft. There's no MAX replacement on the horizon. So that's an X for Dave. This comes down to the question of, well, who would replace him? He won't be there forever because he is in that 65-plus age range. So they do need to identify the next manager, engineer or not, that can invest in product.
And, you know, there have been some charges that Boeing has gone.
We'll leave it right there, but as you can see, there's some real negative sentiment around the stock. And if we move further down here and look at the last 90 days, you can see 38% is negative. Last 90 days is negative. The last 30 days, it's 50% negative. The last 7 days, 45%. And today, 86%. Look at this. It's getting worse and worse. Oh, dear, oh, dear. So anyway, is it an opportunity to buy? Well, with the amount of debt there is, with the competition out there, with the sector, what it is anyway, it's not for me. But let's go and look at the dividends. Let's go and look at the back test before we make a final decision whether it's right to buy or not. Anyway, let's go and look at the history of the dividends. Okay, so we've got down here, if I zoom in, 120 cents or $1.20. 2006. Now, what we're looking for is consistent paying and increasing. We don't want to be missing months, and we don't want to have it drop because then that throws the whole thing out. All right, 140, 168, then it dropped to 42, 42, 42, 44, started to make its way back up again in 2013, 48, 73, 91. So we had a bit of a blip there, but now we've fixed it. 91, 109, 142, 171, 171, 205, 2019, 205, and that's it. So it was stopped in 2020. No dividends since then. So right at the beginning of the video, I said it was showing no dividends. Well, now we know why. It stopped in 2020. No more dividends. All right. The stock has stopped paying dividends. It used to, and it stopped. So now we've got no dividends. And we've got no growth. So now we're really like, why are we buying this? Okay, let's finally look now at the back test. If we put $10,000 in 2011 into the S&P and Boeing, where do we end up? Well, the S&P would have returned 5x, $49,000 since 2011. Very nice indeed. Boeing would have been a 4x. It would have gone to $40,000. So pretty good over that period of time. But now we're seeing it drop. And as you can see, the red line is Boeing, very, very volatile. It exploded through the S&P back here in 2016. So you want to be looking at the investor pages and seeing what news was around this time. But of course, 2020, COVID, well, we can see what happened. That completely and utterly killed the business. It did recover, but then it's fallen away again. Now it's following the S&P, and of course now we're going down again with all this bad news. So there you go. Anyway, my final thoughts on Boeing. Is it a buy? Should I invest in this stock? Well, I wouldn't invest in this sector, period. It's not for me. And remember, just out of openness, I don't own any stocks anyway. I only own the S&P, so I can make these reviews unbiased and without any prejudice whatsoever. But I don't think Boeing is a good buy right now. It is going down in price, no doubt about that. We can see it's down over the last 3 months. It's actually up 5%. Over the last month, it's down 18%. It is going down, but there's no dividend here anymore. That was scrapped a few years ago. We've just got the growth. Will there be a growth? We've got a huge amount of debt. I think there's other competition. I don't know. It's not a buy from me. Not a buy from me. Anyway, I did promise you all those links if you got to the end. Click above my head for all my social media and all the links in the description where I will share all my updated news. And if I get to interview anybody from Boeing, you'll learn more about it. But also above here and down here, you'll find my links to my website, the All Links website, where you'll find the link to Alpha Spread. That's the service I've just been using. My members can get a free plan where you can use it completely for free, Or if you want to go as deep as I do and have as many stocks as I review, you can get a paid plan, but you get a 10% discount, which makes my membership for free. Full disclosure, if you do that, I get a small commission, a one-time payment for you doing that. It doesn't cost you anything, but that's only if you go for the premium plan. If you choose the free one and use it just the way you want to, I don't get any commission at all, just so you know. Okay, over here, I'll post all my Alpha Spread reviews. I do lots of reviews, and I continue to do reviews over here and more information for you. If you want your own review done, please comment below in the video. I will reply to all my members' comments, and if you want a review, put the ticker and the business, and I'll do it for you. I'll add it to the list. If you want it done straight away, do a super chat. It'll bump it to the top, and I will do it straight away. So look out for more reviews like this. Until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.